Listen to the Be Forever Cool podcast. My name is Rex45. Tonight we got TJ in the building. We got Cheetah 740 in the building. We got the real Luis Ortega. What's going on, fellas?
What's good? What's
happening, man?
Can't complain. It's beautiful weather down here in Florida. Where am I? In Florida. So I really can't complain. So how are things up there in Boston, TJ?
It's back down to cool, but this is how everyone likes it. It's in the 70, 75 range, but, lights out everywhere is what I like to see. Everyone's riding safe for the most part. But all in all, what a great weekend of racing for all the classes. So can't wait to get into it.
That's what's up. How about yourself, Cheetah, man? How you doing tonight?
Good, man. It just rained outside in Atlanta, but it's more humid than ever. My windows are foggy outside. It's some weird weather going on. But yeah, man, I'm happy because I got to get out on the bike over the weekend, the bicycle that is.
Oh, gotcha.
And still got to watch some GP along the way. So it was a good weekend.
What kind of bike you ride?
The Trek Domani. I did my first 50-mile ride this weekend, so it was fun. Yeah, a little bicycle, yeah.
Oh, nice. That's what's up. No, I ride a cyclocross, and I have a carbon specialized in Boston. I'm actually going to bring down.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to have to ride one of these days.
Man. Yeah, we're going to have to ride, man, for sure. What's going on, Luis, man? How are things? I know you're busy over there, at least changing your house, maybe not the world.
No, it's a good weekend. Busy, like you said. I got a lot of projects going on, but still found time to catch the racing this weekend, break the monotony of the weekend with watching the guys go back to Brno for the first time in several years, and some pretty competitive racing, man. It was actually a really good weekend. I had a lot of new faces.
Yeah, we're gonna jump into that. I was trying to get Track Stars to come on tonight, but we'll see what happens.
He don't want none of this.
We'll see what happens next week. But you kind of segue right into the first thing I was going to talk about, which is it's been 5 years for MotoGP, 6 years for the fans in Brno. We'll start with TJ, man. I mean, what do you think of the crowd being over? I think it was over 230,000+ people coming out for the weekend. I can't imagine, having a sport taken away, and motorcycle is huge over in Europe, being taken away for that many years. We're very fortunate over in the U.S. What are your thoughts about that MotoGP going back to Brno?
No, I think it's awesome. I mean, when I first started watching MotoGP, I think they were at this track, and I like it, and it's a good layout. They call it the adrenaline track or something like that. And it's such a long layout, and to have that many fans there is pretty cool. Like when you look, you think there's like bleachers. It's just all grass. They're just sitting all on the grass. I mean, most tracks are like that, but you can't really even see the grass. Just all over the place. There are just fans everywhere. And I don't know who they really root for there. I'm not sure. Like there's a what is it in the Dutch?
They root for the European.
Yeah.
But it's good for that type of turnout, So I think it's good to have things like that. I wish we had that at Coda.
I think so. I think it's definitely dope to have the Czech Republic. When I was at Austin, I heard some of the media guys talking about how nice it was going to be when they got to Brno. And it seems from the track being resurfaced and stuff like that, it's a pretty fast track. In some of the media questions they asked some of the guys, and this is to Cheetah, they were talking about how in F1 they have mandatory tracks, and they were asking what tracks should they make mandatory in MotoGP. And a lot of the guys say Brno. So, we're all riders. But what are your thoughts of that being a mandatory track, and also just, the overall weekend and MotoGP going back there?
That's a cool thing. I didn't hear that question, but it's cool to have favorites like that as riders. We all want to go back to certain tracks because the racetrack is just suited for the riding style of everyone. It's just suited for these bikes. It's safer in some ways. You can get to go faster and feel sort of safer. Some tracks are very, very risky, and we still go back to those tracks even though the pavement's really bad. But that's interesting to say that. I'd be curious. I would also imagine that a lot of riders that said yes, they want to go back, make their favorite track, they have different reasons why, right? So maybe some win there more or whatever it may be. But it's a great track. I know we went back there a few years back. We used to have some really good battles. So it's really good to see. And the passing is interesting. You have to do it where it's always in the switchbacks. You always have to put it on the inside on somebody on the switchbacks. Pretty much all you can do for passing there, or on the braking zone on the first 3 corners, really. So I like it a lot. It's a fun track to watch.
Lewis, the numbers guy, I mean, what do you think? Do you think it was numbers why they weren't at Bruno for a little bit? Or I don't know if they were protesting wars that were close by. But,
it's the Czech Republic. I don't think they really have too many wars going on. No, I think, maybe this is a little inside baseball, but the previous owner of the track was Carl Abraham's father. And it's really interesting that they stopped going to the track right around the time Kyle Abraham stopped getting funding from his dad to keep racing in MotoGP.
Okay.
So I don't know if, maybe they had a little bit of falling out with the family because his son couldn't get a ride, or he didn't want to keep supporting his son's racing career because it wasn't really going anywhere. But I know that the new owner took over the track in 2023. And since then, they've been in negotiations to try to get MotoGP back on the schedule in Brno. So, I'm glad it's coming back, because obviously the attendance shows that, people do like to go watch MotoGP at that track. That track has been on the schedule for a long time. And it's a unique track because it's got a lot of elevation change. It's got fast sections. It's got flowy sections. It's got a lot of strange 90-degree, over 90-degree chicanes. So there's a little bit of everything. And I think that's one of the reasons we saw such an interesting mix of different manufacturers up towards the front. Mm-hmm. Because it did lean on some of the strengths of the KTM, and it leaned on some of the strengths of the Aprilia. And that's why we see the mix, but it didn't lean on the strengths of like some of the other bikes. So you saw that, Yamaha struggled a little bit, Honda struggled a little bit, but the bikes with more horsepower got a little bit better. So, again, this is one of those tracks that benefits some bikes, doesn't benefit other bikes. But it's a cool track. I've always enjoyed watching races to this track, and seeing 220 people show up over the weekend. That's a massive number, man.
Yeah.
It's not something to blink your eye at.
No, it is. And I think it's I was thinking of the Ukraine war with Russia, and looking at the map, they're not that far apart. So that's what was in my mind somewhere. But let's jump into the weekend itself. Pecco had to go through Q1 and got pole position and so forth. I thought it was going to be a more competitive race for him. What did you guys think? Were you guys surprised that Pecco was able to, I'm probably not surprised at the part that he was in Q1, but got out of it and got pole position. We'll start with Troy. TJ.
Man, Pecco is not supposed to be in Q1. So, for him to even put himself through that when he already knows his struggles. It is rewarding to get pole. And, it is racing, but I think he only got pole just because, I forget the reason why, but something happened where he ended up actually getting pole. I think Marquez was actually on one of the fastest laps he was ever on, and then he crashed for 2 corners before the checkered flag.
Right. He said he saw Zarco crashed in the same corner before him, and he saw the dust, and that distracted him. And he was on a flyer. So yeah. Go ahead.
But no, I give it to him. I want to see him build his confidence. He is a really good rider. I know we've been getting on him all the time, all year. But I think he deserved the pole for sure. The sprint was a different story.
Got you. Cheetah, what do you think about it? Does Pecco use this as motivation because he seems to be sorting it out a little bit over the last 3 rounds. He even mentioned that in press conference as well. Granted, he 4th and 7th may not be the results you wanted this weekend. Is that motivation to say, hey, this is pretty good? Second half of the season is going to come up in about 3 weeks. I should be good probably 2 races after that.
I don't think so. Just knowing Pecco himself, I think Pecco has always been a slow starter. He's always been slow in the free practices, and then he sort of picks up in Q1, Q2, wherever he ends up. But even then he's like, sometimes he'll get pole, but last year he was, because I mean, it was a different scenario. But I mean, given that, qualifying is a different tire, it's one lap, I think they all know that, sure, they got the pole. It's a great accomplishment. It is a morale boost, but at the end of the day, it's the race distance that matters, right? So I think for that aspect, I don't know if he was really motivated, because he got a few other poles, right, this year. And no, he didn't get any poles this year?
No, this is his first one. It's been the Marquez and Quartararo show.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so even still, it's not something that's applicable to the race distance, and that's where he struggles. He falls back more and more and more, one lap at a time at one point. It's just like one after another. And so that's why I feel like he's still not feeling accomplished off a qualifying session. Just my opinion.
Gotcha. What are your thoughts, Lewis? I will throw this in, and you guys can jump in after Lewis talk about this. As we talk about the sprint, because the factory, they screwed up on the tire pressure, right? And it sounds like even in the main race itself, the bike just had way too much grip for that surface, or the surface just has so much grip that the bike had a lot of vibration. What are your thoughts on Pecco's pole position, and also the struggles they had in the sprint?
I mean, he got a pole. I mean, he did one fast lap that got him the pole. But if you looked at what Zarco was doing on the lap he crashed and Mark was doing, they were about to clip his pole. I mean, they were on the last sector pretty much, and they were definitely going to take the pole. Either way, I mean, pole is pole. Whoever is there at the top when the checker flag waves, he's at the top, regardless of whatever else happens. But if you look at his inconsistency through the warm-ups and the fact that he had to go through Q1, like he was already showing that he's having some struggles and some other issues. In the sprint, I mean, he's had a horrible sprints all season. So seeing him in 7th in the sprint wasn't a surprise, because in a short distance race, for some reason, he just can't seem to put it together. I thought he would do a little bit better on Sunday, and he did better on Sunday. But again, he started having whatever issues he started having. But again, this is where a good rider and a great rider separate themselves. Marquez is having the same issues, but he finds way around the issues. And Pecco runs into these issues and succumbs to the issues. He doesn't find his way around the issues. Marquez jumped out front. He had a 3+ second lead. He saw the tire pressure was messed up. What did he do? He turned into a track day coach. He slowed down. He let the guys pass him. He followed him. He showed him the line. Then he tapped his head and bounced. And he still got another second and a half. Like, that's embarrassing, man. At that point, pack your shit up and go home. This dude is literally showing you he's faster than everybody else, has got more talent, and is just the best package. And that's the race that Pecco came in 7th. So Marquez having the same issue and wins, slows down, gives the grid a chance, and then still passes the grid to win. So again, Pecco needs to find a way to work himself around the problem while he's on the bike, not in the pit, because he's obviously not finding the solution in the pit. So you got to find it out on the track. You got to find a way to change something about your riding style to help you overcome whatever obstacle you come across, man.
Right. But, I think in Pecco's case, we had some overzealous track day guys, just when he'll try to let one person pass, 3 people passed. Hey,
if you leave the door open, people are going to come in. It's called racing. It's going to happen. And when you see a wounded fish, do you go, it's like watching a wounded gazelle. Do you go against the really fast in shape gazelle, or this wounded gazelle right here looks tasty? We're about to eat him up. That's what they're doing.
His crashing has been way down this year. I know past 2 seasons, he's been, always either first or on the podium or just throwing it away completely. He needs to get back to that. Even when there's times going out to practice, they wanted to follow him. Mark Marquez was always trying to follow him, pick on him, and he's just not been that guy. And like you said, he's just throwing all the excuses on the front end and trying to have it change in the paddock, and we just have to get right around the problem. Because he's not the only rider that's having issues, so everyone's running around an issue. So he needs to, he knows what he needs to do, but
you do make a. Yeah, you do make a good point that I think he doesn't want to crash. Where Marquez, he don't care if he crash. I think Pecco used to crash a lot, and I think this year maybe he's being too cautious. because he's not sending it down the road. He'd rather not deal with the bumpy situation or the lack of feel. And granted, he's still pretty fast, right? But just I think that's the difference where Mark don't mind if he loses the front. He's trying to talk. He's trying to ride more like Pecco. And but and Pecco probably needs to ride more like how Marquez ride, where can't be. I mean, again, but it's tricky because you crash and you're out for the season. But I think you make a good point there.
I think one thing is it's about the rider and getting out of his head. What you just said is sort of something that can get up in their head, and they're scared of crashing, right? Or they're scared of losing those points if they crash. Whatever it may be, he has to get out of his head. Because even the adjustments of Mark is just so quick and so fast, he's able to get back a spot and only a spot and not lose 2 spots. And whenever he snaps his fingers, he's back in front of the guy he wants to be in. I mean, the pace is obviously much, much faster than the guys around him. But Pecco, I mean, he turned it down a little, and then he turned it down a little too much. There's, Acosta, everyone's sneaking through. So it's about like being able to, and then make that back up at the end of all that. Because if that wasn't the case, would he have lost the pace anyways? If he was falling back the way he did, and he's such a late starter that he needs 15 laps to get going, then maybe this is a guy that's just not able to manage the bike well or the tires, or he just needs to get warmed up mentally in the race and lose that many spots for him to be like, all right, now I'm going to just say, forget not crashing, forget all that. Let me just push and go through. So does it take him that long to get out of his head? Who knows? Only he knows, because he's in his head. So we can all guess, but I mean, I think we all know the man's in his head.
Right. You listen. No shade on Raul Fernandez, but he was dealing with that for a while too, and he seems to be figuring it out now because he had some really good results this past weekend as well. But what do you guys think of the other brands? You know what I mean? The KTM look good, the Aprilia look good, the Yamahas and the Honda. I mean, are we to the season where these other brands are just starting to figure out the things that are wrong with their bikes and they're just making it better? What are your thoughts, TJ?
Well, I was gonna say that Pecco maybe needs to lose 5 kilos because Enea Gassinini just came out of nowhere and got on the podium for KTM. So.
He looked in that bowl and saw death. And said, once he saw he was gonna live, he's like, "Listen, no more chances, man. This is it. I'm going for everything."
Yeah. It's also a track they haven't been to in a few years, so I don't know if that played any part. Obviously, towards like the race, everyone's probably got all their data, but it was really good to see a mix of the manufacturers like Pedro Acosta actually being up there. And they are being up there, like a lot of the KTMs are up there. The Ducati struggled a little bit, which is, not normal, but, it was for like both the Marquez and Pecco to have the tire pressure issue, that made it interesting for, the other manufacturers to come into play. So it was also good to see Bezzecchi do what he was doing on the Aprilia. Martin, his first round back officially, I think he did a pretty solid job. But I think it was really nice to see the KTMs finish 2 and 3 in the sprint.
Gotcha. Cheetah, do you think that the guys should put in a petition to have all the tracks resurfaced? Because it seems like KTM had more grip, the Aprilias had more grip, all the bikes had more grip on this track where, they're going to go onto other tracks that are not resurfaced.
Well, I was just reading up when you guys were talking. It was a debt issue. Apparently, it was unpaid debt and resurfacing. So maybe there needs to be a lot more tracks where the unpaid debt gets settled with repaving, right? I don't know how that works, but no, I mean, it's great to see KTM is doing phenomenal right now. I mean, they're finally getting their bearings together. All the things they're testing out, maybe it's all coming together. We all want Vinales back, but Acosta, first time there at Brno, and he's doing so good. That's what they were talking about. It's like, wow, he's already in third place and everything. He's got into second in the race. So really good. And Bastianini's right there.
First place in the sprint for a second.
Yeah, for a second when it's allowed. But yeah, I mean, Bastianini is doing good. Bezzecchi is doing great. He's showing what Martin can potentially do. And Martin, obviously, that's another story we'll get into, but he was also kind of feeling good. Had a big smile on his face when he came back. So, I think Honda's probably the weaker of the one manufacturers, but they're also mixing it up in all the other races. So there's not really one weak competitor as far as the manufacturer goes. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out after this break.
All right. Lewis, you heard all those guys. What are your thoughts, man?
I think this and the next track are a little bit of an anomaly for KTM. This track and the next track, which is the Red Bull Ring, leans really, really heavily on the strengths of the KTM. So I expect to see them doing the similar pace at the next round and even maybe the round after that at Hungary. But then after that, when we get back to Catalonia and San Marino and so forth, the KTM is probably going to start to struggle again because they can't lean on the horsepower as much as they have. I mean, the KTM is the fastest bike in a straight line. And if you look at this track had a lot of straight lines. So you're going to get a lot of competitive advantage. I think once the lines get a little shorter and the turns get a little bit more significant, that's where you see the KTM struggle outside of Vinales. And Vinales, to be honest with you, I think was the leading reason why they were doing so good because they were seeing what he was doing. And then now he's hurt.
Right.
And, even Pedro Acosta himself admits, like, he's a hothead. And the people at KTM are hotheads. So it's hard for them sometimes to get on the same page because he doesn't know how to explain himself without probably getting super animated. Whereas Vinales can also get animated, but he can also really tell you what needs to get done. He's a little bit more mature, a little bit, a student of the game a little longer.
Right. How crazy is it that Jack Miller helped them last year at the beginning of the season anyway, and now Vinales, and you got guys that been coming up through KTM their whole life, and they weren't able to make the leaps and bounds that these two guys are making.
I mean, this is, again, how do you explain, how good are you at explaining what's wrong with the bike? If you go back to the pit and just give the bike to the techs and just say, well, this doesn't seem to be working, you need to be able to really tell this to the techs exactly what's happening. Because one, they're going to look at your data and they're going to tell you if you're full of shit or not. If you're like, dude, I'm breaking as late as I can, they're going to look at the data and be like, no, you're not. If they look at the data and say, hey, this other guy on the same bike is braking at this point, and in this sector, he's 0.32 seconds faster than you. You need to do what he's doing in this sector. And this other guy in this sector is doing 1 point something seconds faster. You need to do what he's doing in that sector. And this is what, being part of a team really is. And when you're in a motorsport like this and you have KTM, you have 4 riders, you're sharing the data because you want each rider to benefit from what the others are learning. And again, now, with Vinales out, I don't know how much of that good data is going away because obviously Binder's not giving good information. And Bastianini, he benefited from hella, fight of diarrhea. So, he wanted to just finish as fast as he could because he had to go to the bathroom before he shit his pants again. So that put a little bit of extra emphasis on him trying to finish as quickly as possible because he didn't want to brown up his suit. But I think Acosta now, maybe with a good base, can now take a couple steps forward. And like I said, the next 2 tracks do benefit the KTM.
Right. Outside
of that, Yamaha kind of did what they did. They were a little bit middling. The big surprise to me is Aprilia. Aprilia now has between Fernandez, who is fighting for his job, and I think he's doing a great job now. Like, if he can keep this out through the end of the season, I don't see why Trackhouse wouldn't want to sign him for another 2 years.
Right. Yeah, I think he signed until the end of 26.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably try to lock him in.
Yeah.
As early next year as possible if he's going to ride like this, because the last thing you want to do is lose a guy that's on the rise to a factory team or something else. All
right. Well, I want to talk about Aprilia next, but I'll go to TJ and Cheetah if they have anything they want to add on the KTMs. Sad to see Bastianini crash out in the main race because it might have been a KTM 1-2 again too, or actually, I don't know if Bezecchi was going to give that up.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say not as much as to KTM, but just what Lewis was talking about. Like, the best developmental guys are sometimes not the best riders. In the same sense, I use the same analogy as, like, if you look at boxing, basketball, we both talked about these a lot, sports a lot. The best coaches aren't the best players. They're the players that have been sort of average in the league, or in the game, but they found a way to still make it almost great, right? And those are the guys that find the way. And so maybe these test riders are also the same. They can't speak it, but they can just feel it. Those guys don't end up becoming the best test riders, and it's the guys that have both. Sometimes that's the rarity, like a Vinales, right?
Yeah.
That can develop it and talk it, and do the fast laps.
Yeah. Right. I agree.
Yeah, more like an Elise. But I was going to say on the KTM part, it was good to see Paul Espargaro out there.
Yes.
But I'll say that.
Yeah, and I think he finished 9th in the sprint. So not as great as Danny Pedrosa, but nonetheless, I mean, I don't think Paul did any races last year.
No, he didn't do any races. He just did testing.
Yeah.
And, in the race, think about it. He finished 1 second behind Brad Binder. Binder's been on that bike for like 72 years now. Bro, the guy that was last week had a microphone at the last race, just came in a second behind you in the actual race.
Binder won at Bruno last time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now he finished, in the top 10, but literally the guy that didn't have a job last week finished 1 second behind you.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a good look.
No, yeah, I think Bender might be struggling a little bit, or maybe he's just been on that bike too long, and it's time for a change. Yeah. Sometimes that happens.
Complacency.
Yeah. But let's talk about Aprilia. As you were mentioning, Lewis, it looks like Fernandez is finding his way. I don't know if it's the help outside of the track or seeing your rookie do better than you in the first 5 until he crashed out in Silverstone, or whatever it is. He's figuring it out. Aprilia, Bezecchi's looking really good on the bike, and or Hey Martin had to come in and he had to do that walk of shame. Let's talk about the walk of shame part first, which is that interview where he had to be up there by himself and answer all those questions, just to sit here and be asked how many different ways he screwed up.
I mean, that was tough. I mean, he knew that had to come, that had to be done. It was the best way to do it. But it sucks to be up there alone, where everyone's just picking at you on the situation. It wasn't like, oh, how was your race, or how was your time off? How'd you recover? It was just like, why'd you make this decision? Why'd you hold back? And just more antagonizing the situation just to get everything out right at that moment. There were certain things that I didn't agree with. Martin said that was kind of like him being an asshole about it, but. It is his life and what he wants to pursue, but he was close to losing everything at one point. So, but yeah, that was a tough interview, I would say, to go through, to come back and to have to do that and then focus on racing. So I don't know. They could have done it another time, but.
Yeah, no, I agree. If he would have chilled out, months ago, they probably would have let all that slide. But he embarrassed the sport, and so they can't just be like, come back home. You know what I'm saying? He had to go out there and do that. What are your thoughts, Cheetah?
I'm mad. I didn't see this. I didn't even.
It's online.
I gotta go. I was like wanting all this, and now it's there. Okay, I gotta go watch it now.
It's on MotoGP.
It's on MotoGP, for sure. Check it out. Well, go ahead, add something, Lewis, since Cheetah didn't get a chance to check it out.
I'm going to say two things here. One, who had the worst weekend? Was it Martin during that interview, or the HR guy and the CEO at the Coldplay concert? Because they both had really, really bad moments in front of the camera. They both had oh shit moments in front of the camera. Like, they had to come with receipts and they were getting charged full price. But Martin, I don't know if Aprilia pushed it or MotoGP pushed it, but somebody had to do that. Like, Martin had to eat a lot of crow, because if he didn't, this was just going to chase him from this round to the next round to the next round. At some point, you just got to come out, meet the press, get it over with, and move on. Release the Epstein list. Don't stop worrying about it. Once it's in the air, it's out there. Nobody can question it anymore.
And also, they got to make sure that no other rider gets this idea.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this was a Dorna thing with Aprilia or even a Dorna thing where it's like, look, you need to go out here, address the press, get this out, clear the air, and then we can move on. Plus, this is a little bit of a, I did this once and got away with it. I thought I could do it again, but guess what? I can't. Because the name on the side of the building isn't Martin, it's Dorna.
Yep.
So you just work here, my man. Like, this ain't your company. You can't do whatever you want.
Yeah,
Once that was done and it was time to go racing, I'll give you the second best thing that I always tell people. Winning cures everything. If you're doing good, no matter how bad everything else is going on, winning cures everything. The team will forget all about the discrepancies. The mechanics will work hard for you. Everything will come together if you're winning. And he came in 7th place after being off the bike, almost half the year. I mean, we're at the summer break. He's only ridden in 3 rounds. Two rounds. Yeah. And he didn't even finish the 1 round. Mm-hmm. So for him to be here, coming in 7th place, again, fast never forgets how to be fast. You lose timing, you lose this, you lose that. But as you get laps, you get your timing back, you get your rhythm back. You understand where the apex is, where to trail, where to let off the brake, where to get back on the gas. Like, fast guys don't forget how to be fast. They just lose their timing. So he got back on it, and the more he rides, the better he's going to get his timing. And he's already got a benchmark. Bezecchi is setting the benchmark. My man technically could have 5 podiums in a row had it not been for a couple of incidences. Yeah. That's huge. Aprilia has not been in that position to have 5 possible podiums in a row ever. Even with Alessia Sparrow, they never had this consistency.
Yeah.
And if he can continue, if Bez can continue this into the next 2 rounds, which again are really good rounds for the Aprilia bike and beyond, like, this again sets a new bar for Martin to achieve. So it's good, man. Again, it's over with. It's done with. Ride the bike. Let your riding speak for itself. Shut up. Don't talk anymore. The less you talk, the better it'll be for you, Martin. That's what I tell him.
And I'll say, I mean, Bez is the only guy that's really pressured Mark. Besides, I wouldn't even say Alex pressured Mark, but Bez is the only guy.
Yep. So, he's the only one that diced it up with him. Like, outside of 1 or 2 passes by Pecco Bagnaia in random places, like, he hasn't had that person on his ass where, like, oh man, I could let off from this 9.5 second lead and I'll still win by 4.5 seconds. Like, oh no, I got to keep pushing, because if I slow down a little too much, this guy's going to catch up. And again, man, I'll always say Mark is the most intelligent rider in the entire field, man. Yeah, the things that he's constantly thinking and calculating and understanding, like in the interview, he even said, look, I got behind Bez, and as soon as I felt the tire drop, that's when I knew I had to make a move.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? He's like when your tire went to shit, that's when you decided you're going to go fast. And that's where he kills it, man. When the tire drops, everybody says, the dude's just on another level.
Yeah. I'll add to that just a little on the Bez part. I'm just glad for Aprilia that Bez is doing well for them, because if he wasn't, then Aprilia, Martin's going to come back and look like a king, and they don't like this guy. And not just for that reason alone, but now that Aprilia gets a say-so at being one of the top competitors right now, I'm glad they're not left alone in the mix right now without their top rider. And now Bez is now the top rider because Martin's not showing his number 1 plate. He's not putting it to good use yet. So, once they both start mixing it up, man, Aprilia can be a real force to be reckoned with, in my opinion.
Yep, for sure.
I completely agree. I think so. I think that Martin seeing what Bez is, I think seeing what Iaguro, because Iaguro was nice in the beginning, seeing what he was doing, seeing what Bez is doing now, and again, Raul Fernandez, what he's doing, it's good motivation for him. I can't stop thinking like he could have avoided all this if he just kept his mouth shut, and because he could have enacted that clause at any point in time in the whole season. So you think he would have waited to have more information, but nonetheless, I think that if the way they're looking after this past weekend, like, I think, again, a couple of rounds from now, I think they'll be in the mix for the top 5. And any one of those Aprilias, I won't say Iaguro because he's not there yet, but I think that definitely Martin and Bez and even Raul Fernandez, because he's been finishing top 7, lately.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah.
Let's talk about Grassini and VR46. The only two top Ducatis this round was the factory. Everybody else were either injured or just down 10th or below or something like that. They can't be happy with this, right? At Ducati can't be happy that, hey, listen, we're used to having 6 bikes in the top 10. What's going on?
I mean, it could change once in a while. It's racing. They can't be greedy. But no, it sucks to see Alex Marquez go down, and some decisions that he makes sometimes. I don't know if he's going back to the original Alex now, because this past few weekends haven't been that great. I don't know if this is like the Alex that we know, but hopefully he gets back on his high to continue with the championship push. We know that he's not going to get it, but VR46, I think they were looking good, but there's some struggles. I didn't really see much of the struggles with the VR46.
Got you. Frankie's injured, so he's out. But Digio he crashed out of the main race, but I think he qualified 18th or something like that. So not really a good look. Cheetah, do you think that as a satellite team, they're doing too much? Because last year Pramac won it. They feel like they can do it. Granted, VR46 they got an injured rider, but still Digio should have done better than where he finished or didn't finish.
Yeah, I mean, Digio definitely, but I mean, just going back to Alex for a second, I wanted to mention him because I feel like he's gotten a taste of the podium juice. And now that he's not able to see Marquez in sight, he's getting a little antsy and making kind of decisions he shouldn't be making, right? The decision to go under Mir that took him and Mir out, that's a decision he didn't need to make. I think the pace just wasn't there for him and Aldeguer this weekend. So I don't know, man. I'm not feeling the maturity out of Alex yet, and that's yet to come. So
yeah. I agree, and I think we talked about it last week. He rides different with his brother than he rides with everybody else. He took Pecco out last year, and Pecco had to be gracious and take back the words he said. Where I don't think Marc Marquez has taken back a word yet. And I think that Alex. I'm the youngest, so I don't, I could have always called on my older siblings, I suppose, but I live not to do that and do anything like that. But I think, Alex sometimes is, moving with his brother's clout.
Yeah. Yeah, he wants to be up there. He just wants to. I mean, he's already got the taste of it, right? I mean, first few races, I mean, he was the man. We were like, oh, besides, if Mark wasn't here, he was winning. That's what I said. And then but now he's not there in this one race and he starts getting a little antsy. I don't know. Maybe it just wasn't a thing for the whole team. Aldeguer wasn't looking too fancy either. And he's usually up there in the podiums, at least in sprints. So I don't know. It was just an interesting thing. So hopefully he can keep that hand healthy for the next few races, Alex, that is. Right.
Hey, what are your thoughts, Lewis? I mean, it could also have been the grip and the 24 bikes, because last year Bezecchi and them couldn't figure out, that was a 23 bike last year. They could have ran into the similar problems that the factory was running into, because when Marquez was in the press conference, he said all the Ducatis were having issues. It could have been something there. But what are your thoughts, Lewis, on the R46 Grassini?
I think the Frankie injury might be a little bit telling, because if you look throughout the last few rounds, Frankie always does well in the practices, and Digi is always in the lower half of the practices. And then when it comes race time, Digi kind of does a little bit better, and maybe he's using Frankie's data. And this weekend he didn't have Frankie's data, because if you think about it, he had Frankie's data last weekend.
Right.
And Frankie did well, he did well. And now this weekend, Frankie's not there, and all of a sudden he's struggling mightily because he doesn't have that second guy collecting data for him. So I'm wondering if that might be one part of it on the VR46 side, but I'm hoping that, by the next round after this short break, Frankie will be back, and, we'll be at another track that benefits the Ducatis, and we'll see how they do. And on the side of Alex Marquez and the Grassini team, Again, Alex made a bad decision, but also, he's still riding with an injured hand. So we don't know how that's affecting him. Maybe he's trying to compensate a little too much. Maybe he's doing a little too much, considering that he does have an injured hand, and that does affect how you're able to ride, because you can only do so much with the handlebar when one of your hands, you don't have that firm grip, or you might be getting a little numb. You don't know what's happening there, but he definitely did make a bad decision. And I feel really bad for the new Oliveira, which is Johan Mir, because once again, fucking somebody takes him out, bro. Yeah. This dude needs to get whatever blessing that Oliveira had and get done in his garage now, because now he's the new Oliveira. He's getting taken out round after round of no fault of his own, not doing anything outside of the norm, just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and somebody miscalculates and uses him as a berm. And that sucks for him, because, it's not like he was riding badly. Like, he was doing fairly well, all things considered, compared to the other Hondas. And once again, man, he finds himself in the kitty litter. And I think you saw that in the frustrations, because you saw that he really went after Alex and kind of really gave him a tongue lashing, because he was just like, yo, man, dude, we're way back here, and you're taking me out from behind. You're not even taking me out from the inside where I can see your tire hit me. You're literally taking me out from behind. Like, there was no way you're going to make that pass. Anybody that knows anything about apexes and getting out of corners, what the hell were you doing, bro? Like, there's nothing to see here. Like, you're doing it wrong. This is how you race. And it's true. You see that sometimes. Sometimes, there are incidents like Alex Marquez and Pecco at Aragon. Mm-hmm. And I consider that a 50-50, because Alex thought he had the line, and Pecco kind of came in, and they kind of just met at the apex, and two bikes can't take the same place at the same time. Something has to give. And in that case, both of them gave, And again, that might be a little bit Alex being overly aggressive, and Pecco thinking, oh, he's going to let me go because I'm Pecco, and leaning it in there.
He was also kind of in front of him.
If he was in front of him, why would he hit him? Why would he hit him in the leg if he was in front of him?
He passed him, and then
But if you come in, and the tire's there, and I hit your leg.
Listen,
I'm on your side, Louis. I'm on your side.
Half a dozen in the other.
When somebody passes you, sometimes you come off the brake a little bit later to catch back up. That's all I'm just saying. Sometimes.
I'm just saying that sometimes Pecco thinks that Pecco's supposed to get a pass because he's Pecco.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always happen. I'm not here to let Pecco be Pecco. I'm here to try to win my race, to try to get as good as I can. And if you happen to lean in and I happen to be there, and my tire hits you in the leg, you might be in front of me, but it's only because you coming into my line.
Come on, last year he said, or the year before, he said he didn't want team order. He wants riders to ride. So I don't,
No, he didn't.
Of course he did.
He's the same guy that said, I want satellite bikes to go slower. Ducati shouldn't give all the bikes, all the teams the same bike, because satellite bikes should be slower.
So they got Marc Marquez.
No, but then he was saying that because Martin was on his ass the entire time.
Right.
And he was like, why does a satellite team have a bike that's as good as mine? Like, he's a satellite team. He should have the shitty parts, so that way it's easier for me to win. But you guys are giving Martin a bike just as good as my bike, and he's on a satellite. Look, now I got to work. Like, come on, man. You can't. The dudes, they call him Pecco Princess for a reason, bro.
He sounds like a loser.
Yeah, bro. He wants the easiest path to victory. That's why he's getting his ass handed to him this year.
I didn't see any of that, but okay.
Google Pecco wants slower satellite bikes, and you'll find it.
It could have been penned by Scott Reddick.
No. It was in an interview. It's on MotoGP.com.
I do remember that.
Say again.
I'm gonna send you the link.
I remember that too.
Okay. I don't think that is unfortunate if he's saying it. I mean, it is. The racing industry is a little bit different, and we see it in Formula One and stuff like that. And the number one guy has always gotten favors, right? Or the number one rider has always gotten favors on teams. And Ducati did something out of the norm by putting 8 bikes on the grid, by sharing data the way they're sharing it and stuff like that. So, which he profited from. So, which is the part that I wouldn't understand why he would say that, because he did profit from having all that information.
It would be fine if Jorge was saying it back last year when he was on the not factory team. But
there's the link to the interview. where Pecco Bagnaia argues that slower satellite bikes will make for safer riding. Bitch ass shit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Safer riding because nobody can catch me. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Safer riding, huh?
He wants to see a bigger factory margin.
But was he specifically talking about Martin or
what other satellite bike was close to him? The Honda, the Castro satellite.
They had
no, but that wouldn't even
bikes.
matter because it's not a Ducati, right?
Yeah, I thought they had 224 bikes last year. They had like 424 bikes.
No, they had like 18 Ducatis at one point.
Right. But like last year, there was 424 and 423s. VR46 had one and Grassini had one, right?
Yep. Yeah, Martin had the newer bike.
Oh, Martin and VR46. Sorry.
And VR46 had one rider on the newer bike.
So he could have been talking about Diggia.
Nah, I doubt it.
Rexy, man, you gonna forever buy into his stock, man.
I'm not buying his stock. I'm just making sure the wealth is
he can buy the stock. I'm just trying to bring the value down to a realistic point.
Like if somebody said that, you know what I'm saying? Like I guess he's talking about Vinales as well in that, but if somebody said that, I get it from the other side. If he wasn't on a factory team, he's like, oh, the factory rider should not have that much of an advantage over us. I get that a little bit. Even that's a little whiny. But to say that from the other
more
side,
to point to the factory saying like,
here's the direct quote: a rider behind you that doesn't have the potential is looking to pass 6 riders in one lap, and it doesn't work like this because we are on the limit and is looking for a maximum goal. If you look, the incidents are fairly the first part, so you can read this. But he literally he's literally saying there's no longer a 6 or 7 second gap, 10th gap. Right. Between satellite bikes and factory bikes, and then if that was there, it would make it easier.
Was that when a couple of riders was using their bikes as bowling balls?
Well, it is MotoGP every weekend. Somebody's using their bike as a bowling ball.
That's gonna happen, and that's up the race direction to give the points, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it was Frankie or whoever, but yeah, I think that Frankie was after somebody was trying to pass like 6 bikes. Yeah. So
I mean, a few years back, there was a gap in time. Then a lot of aerodynamics came into play, and now it's more a fair game. So for everybody, so most bikes have the same thing. There was a time where just Ducati had the rear, right? They had the vice, Suzuki did it. Halfway through the season, Suzuki got it. And then they were developing. So like they all get in faster with all the aerodynamics. So everyone has a similar time now. So Pecco, it's just complaining too much. I can see if he was on a satellite, but if you're on the factory, you're still on the best bike at the end of the day. You figure out the way to win because you're supposed to be the one that helped develop it the most and continue this brand going forward for the next few years,
Well, again, I hear that, but Marquez, helped undevelop that Honda. But
Rex, I just want to point out 2 little quotes from this article, by the way. He says, meanwhile, the others were further behind because they didn't have the potential, but they also didn't have the same technical level. Right. So what he's saying is that he's just better.
No, technical level up the bike, not
potential as well. But then why would he say the bike should be slower then?
Well, I can't be technical. I can't believe he's saying the other riders are not as skilled.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He's literally saying they don't have the talent.
And then the next thing is referring to the level of competition is extreme.
I come with receipts every week, Rexy.
That's what you expect.
And this was in an interview?
This was in an interview.
You got to read this, man.
Come on, man. I come with receipts.
I'm gonna have to read it.
My mind is like a steel trap.
Bring this up because that's why I kind of I thought about it.
I'll read it and get back. But even still, I mean, it is what it is.
You say something in a press conference, I'm gonna bring that shit up in like 5 years. Remember back when you said in a press conference?
Yeah. Hopefully, I'm being consistent, right? So
you are. You are very consistent.
So there you go. And I'll say this before we move on. He also gets more flack, and other riders do yap off too. But he's getting a lot of flack for the only person to try to take down Marquez, and a lot of other riders are kind of.
After this weekend, though, that last press conference he did, he sounds like a guy that's finally realized like he doesn't have it, because he pretty much said that right now his target is to try to keep with Alex and see if they can secure second place. Because right now he's 6 races behind Mark. It would take 6 DNFs and him winning 6 in a row to even come close to getting back on par with Mark.
Yeah.
And, with the amount of rounds left, I don't see Mark pitching it down the road in 6 consecutive races. Not talking sprints, but in like full races where the points are the biggest. I don't see that happening. I mean, at this pace, Mark can win with 5 rounds left almost.
Something like that.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
I got a question for you guys.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say is Pecco has a long way to go to even catch up to Mark for sure. But do you think like anyone's even gonna be close to catching Mark for the next couple of years?
No.
I think he's possibly gonna repeat next year the way he's riding and his potential, how he's showing off, how he's
I don't know.
No, man. I'm so glad you asked that. Just about an hour before this podcast, I was thinking about this man's at his peak. He's not even at his peak, at his prime. He's at his prime right now. And he's like perfect balance of mental, machinery, and fitness. He's just got this perfect aura about him that he's been perfect. Last 5 races, sprints and races first. It's perfection.
I will say this. There's maybe a couple of people. I think Martin, because we don't know what we're going to get yet. So he could, right? If he's already feeling good on the bike. Bezzecchi, I think, is another person. And I think Frankie. Outside of those 3 people, because I think they have what it takes. But I can't see the rest of the guys. Nothing is impossible, but no, I think it's going to be hard next year for them to beat them. But I don't think they're doing much development on the bike, so you never know.
Barring injury and barring something really, really crazy happen in 2027, where they put the tires on backwards on all the bikes. Like, I know that 27 is going to be a new bike, new tire, and everything else. But barring injury, I mean, Mark has already had 2 pretty good runs. He had 2 back-to-back. He had a back-to-back wins in 23-24, like his first and second season. Then he had the Rossi special season where he lost to Lorenzo. And then after that, he railed off 4 championships in a row, and he was on his way to a 5th championship before he got injured. Because that year, he was doing the same thing he's doing this year. He was playing track day coach. He was going out there and just managing the time, doing whatever he wanted, putting the bike wherever he wanted, and nobody had any answers to give it what he was doing. And he would have won that championship, and he probably would have won the next championship. I mean, we technically could looking at a guy that won 5 or 6 in a row. Now he has an opportunity on a bike that is competitive, and his talent level, just like Cheetah said, it's as high as it's ever been. I mean, the dude came into this year in unbelievable shape. His abs got little abs. Each of his abs got like 6 little abs, man. That's crazy. He got like an 82 pack. And everybody in the paddock, people have been quoted as saying like that first trip to that first round of testing, when they were flying out to that first round, people were saying that Mark got on the plane already with a look like we're in trouble. And we're in trouble. Look at us. We're getting our asses handed to us. So, like, we're professional riders. We're at the top of our peak. Imagine a Formula One rider that wins every race by like 8 seconds that nobody can even touch. Like, that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at, somebody that's at the peak of their fitness, peak of their mental strength. I mean, mentally, you have to be super strong for any kind of motorsports, because that's where you win it or lose it. Can you bring yourself into every weekend and push yourself to be the best and not make mistakes? And when you make mistakes, forget them and go back out there and ride. And that's what he's doing, man. He crashes and he comes back out like he never crashed. He does this, he learns from it, he doesn't do it again. He crashes, he's doing what he used to do, crashing in practice, but avoiding the crashes in the race. Pushing as much as he can when it doesn't count, so that when it does count, he kind of already knows the limits.
Right.
I mean, going at this rate, if everything stays the same, I mean, it's gonna be hard to take him down. Like right now, his only competition is gravity.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get out of here, let's talk about what Joe Roberts did, because pretty impressive for a guy who struggled at the beginning of the year through injuries. And he seems. I don't remember how. Did he win a race last year?
I think he won a few.
Or he was on a podium. I mean, I think
He
maybe
must have been on the
Mugello.
podium.
He was on Mugello on the podium or something like that. What you guys thoughts of that? It's pretty good to see. The team winning. It's good for him because him and like Jake Dixon, these guys have been in Moto2 now for a minute. And you got all these young riders that are getting talked about week in and week out and stuff like that. What do you guys think of that? What Joe Roberts did this past weekend?
I think it was. I mean, I didn't know all the history about him and this track. I think it's like his debut at this track a few years back, or he has a lot of history with this track. So to come back and about to go into summer break, he even said it himself that it gives you confidence. You want to go out there and do the best you can, and he said, "I'm winning this race." So. It was really good to actually finally hear someone American speak on the podium with the Moto2 series. So I'm really happy. Hearing the national anthem and everything. So I'm really happy to finally see him back up there. Last year he had a really good run, kind of faded toward the end, but it was really good to see Joe back up there. Didn't really expect it. Like I said, I didn't know the history that he had with this track. A lot of people have some history with this track, and they do pretty well. So,
yeah. The fact that he won there last time just shows he's got some favorites. It's good to see, obviously, an American, be up there in the European, pretty much the European League is what it should be called because they're just dominating in every aspect, two wheels. So even Tour de France stuff, right? So, but it's good to see that, man. I mean, we need more American guys up there coming back from his injury just to see a comeback and have that happen. I mean. That's what we all love athletes for is just those stories where they go through adversity and still able to make it to the top, especially in this case, a podium. So it's just always good to see that.
I just took a quick look and it looks like it's his the third time he's been on the top step since he got to Moto2. So he hasn't had a lot of visits. So whenever he can get a visit, that's great. And coming off of he had an injury. It kind of messed him up. It took him out of the game for a while, but coming back from an injury and getting on a top step, hopefully that gives him some confidence going forward. I know he just signed a new deal, so he's going to stay with the team a little bit longer. So hopefully this is a sign of good things to come. Hopefully the team can continue to give him a competitive bike and he can kind of keep going forward. I mean, it sucks to only have, one guy in all of GP that's an American. So, hearing our national anthem over the speakers, I'm sure the people in Europe are like, "Oh, I never heard that before." It's like the first time I've ever heard that. What is that? What's that sound? That's pretty funny, but it's pretty good, man. I hope the kid well. He's still got a good amount of career in front of him, and hopefully he can keep doing it. And as for Jake Dixon, we mentioned him really briefly. If you guys haven't seen, it looks like he's going to World Superbike, and like I told you, he'll never see a MotoGP bike, and neither will Aaron Canet. So,
Aaron had a.
Sorry. No. I was just when he said the name, I was just so disappointed. So, I don't know. I think he screwed himself in a way because.
Who's that?
And qualifying, Eric Canet.
Okay.
Yep.
And qualifying, he crashed. So
yeah,
he didn't get a chance to, get on the road that he should be on. And him going through turn one when the race starts, you try to jump to the front, and it's just so unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's just
pretty unfortunate. What do you guys think of Ramirez? Should he knew he had 2 long lap penalties. Should he even have been battling with Joe in the beginning? I can understand another brand, but
that's a tough one. But somebody after the race probably went up to him and like, "Yo, let me talk to you a minute." One of the OnlyFans team managers probably went up to him and said, "Hey, let's come over here where somebody can't hear you scream because I want to talk to you about something." And probably gave him a good, I would have punched him in the face. I'd be like, "Yo, you're fighting for nothing, and you're literally going to take out almost your own team rider that's doing much better when you got to make you're going to lose 8.5, 9 seconds going through the long lap penalty. Like, what the hell are you doing? You think you're going to get a 9-second lead that you've never had in your entire career in Moto2? Like, again, this is young people making stupid decisions at the moment. Like, somebody probably should have spoken to him before the race, because sometimes these are things that in the moment when you have the helmet on, you don't think about, because you're so worried about corner to corner and your apexes and your braking and your gearing and everything else that you don't have that
who's on the other bike.
Yeah, well, you don't have that bigger field of view. Not everybody has that Marquez field of view where he can calculate tire pressure and laps and this and that. This guy's just, I'm trying to get to the next turn. Stop. I'm trying to get to the next turn. And he done thinking, oh shit, I got to do a long lap penalty. I'm going to lose this much time. Even if I get to the front, I'm still going to end up in the back. Like, why am I going to possibly take my own teammate out? Like, these are the things you really got to think about. And when you make those kind of decisions on a bike and make those kind of mistakes, that's the kind of thing that high level managers look at and say, this guy doesn't have that it factor for the mentality to do what he needs to do.
Unless your name Jorge Lorenzo. Unless you're
Jorge Lorenzo or Rossi.
One more thing. I think Viete and Roberts should be on a team together. I think that would be a good teammate of Roberts, because both these guys they do one-offs at certain tracks. They do really well. Granted, they've both had a lot of injuries the last couple of years, collarbone issues and stuff. I think Viete was in Argentina somewhere. I forget where he broke his last year or whatever. And that messed them up last year. What do you think about those two guys teaming up?
I'll let someone else go first now.
Are you just saying that because they both have mullets?
No, I'm just they're both really good riders, and unfortunately, we're talking about the Canets and the Jake Dixons of the world. Like, eventually, these guys, how long can you hold on to a seat in Moto2 when you start to push 27, 28? After 26.
If you got good results, you can stay there for a long time. I mean, Tony Elias won the first Moto2 championship when he was like 57 years old.
Dude, there's dudes that are 17, 16 that's trying to get into Moto2 now from Moto3.
All right, but if I'm on a team and I'm consistently in the top 5, my team's not going to want to let me go if my teammate is in the bottom 15.
Yeah, but but none of these guys are consistently in the top 5 in the last couple of years. Granted,
so then why would I want 2 inconsistent guys in the same team? like you gotta try to find that one consistent guy, and usually that's the older guy. Because one of the things you want to do is you want to put the younger guy with the older guy so that the older guy can kind of school the younger guy. Because at a certain point, like I've told you, the older guy is not going to get that step to MotoGP. But he has enough experience in Moto2 that he could probably mentor a younger rider and give him that little bit of a step up. And maybe that younger rider will have the opportunity in GP. But I don't want to put 2 old guys on the same team, because what am I doing here, man? I'm just paying old guys to go racing. Like, I'm not going to be able to level anybody up.
Anyone else want to add to that?
No
2 old guys on the same team.
I'm good.
Well, guys, there's a break for like 3 weeks in MotoGP, but we still got Moto America and we still got World Superbike, BSB. Looks like Scott Redden will be in BSB, so we'll see how he does there. Until next week, guys. Peace.
Take care, guys.
Take care.